Hey guys, doing a live version of TCG trades this morning. We got a 5-minute EQ on our friend NFLX, which is a really nice setup. We have a dip below our daily support, 286.51, so yesterday's the low of day support. But the second bounce here has held a key level on the daily, and we will review that in a second. But we're just going to set up our EQ levels right now. So far, we've got these 4 points to work with. Now, the daily support that I'm talking about is from over here on, what is this, August 27th. So if I go ahead and mark that in, we can go back to the 5-minute time frame and see how that sort of correlates. We got very close to that daily level. We got below it, we got back above, reconfirmed it as support, and now we're waiting to see what the bulls and bears are going to do here. On the daily time frame, we're overall in a bearish trend. 4 hours, we're in a bearish trend. Hourly, we are in a bearish trend. So we look for continuation inside these EQs. So a nice play would be a top fish right around last area of resistance, looking for a bear break. Of course, stop loss on the other side if we do get a bull break, and just inversely on the other side. If we do break bull, we don't really have any resistance up until 293.49, so that is a potential target if the bulls have a lot of legs. And if we drop below with a bear break of this EQ, we're just going to be playing our 5-minute RSI levels right now, happily at 46, right where you expect it inside an EQ. So we knock out those supports, we will look for our first oversold bounce opportunity on the 5-minute time frame as a potential exit. So we're watching the slow development of this 5-minute EQ. It's always very slow when you're doing it in real time. But we've bounced a little bit, and we had this low, and we pulled back from it pretty conclusively. Now the bears are starting to attack from the other direction. So that is when we start to update our EQ level. So we look at this one and would say, all right, obviously we've got our low. We had an attack, a counterattack, another counterattack, another counterattack, and this counts as a level because the bulls managed to pull away from it pretty conclusively before getting tired out, and then we're seeing a little bit of balance here with our converging MAs. So that's why we mark this one 287.91. Also, the volume is declining overall, which is what you expect to see in an EQ or a pennant pattern. And now what we wait to see is, can the bulls stay above 287.91 and continue this EQ and get it even tighter than it is? All right, we're watching the slow development still here on this 5-minute EQ. We had a 2-minute EQ that sort of broke bear. You can kind of see it here tightening up, and then we lost that level. Bulls have answered back really aggressively, really quickly on that one. So that's pretty interesting. What we're going to do is go ahead and mark this as a new lower high. And I guess that would be considered a break. So keep an eye on this. This is good volume coming in on the 5-minute candlestick. Now what needs to happen is we need to see a conclusive move over this level. A slight back test would be okay, and then another break at 289.34, and then we'll be looking for our longer term profit targets. But bulls doing well so far. Good uptick in volume. If we go to our 2-minute time frame, this is when it gets interesting. You can see the slow decline of volume, but overall the bullish volume is slightly more substantial once we get into the EQ, and then you get this nice uptick right here. So if bulls can get over 289.34, they're going to be in good shape. Hey guys, we're well into our EQ break over 289.08. Volume picked up. Saw a little bit of a climax, almost a little bit of a shooting star reversal pattern up here. But really what's important is that our RSI was getting overbought on the 2-minute. We hit 73 and change and started to come back down. We're looking for support at EMA 12. If we go to the 50-minute time frame, we got over top of our EMA 26, which is great. And now we are trying to find support at that level. If we can get support at that level, then we have the opportunity to establish a new trend. And really, that's what it's all about here. We've got out of this pattern, and now we need to see if we can get a 5-minute uptrend intact and developed and ride that until that pattern changes. So it's always a series of looking for a pattern, playing the price action, waiting for a new pattern to develop, playing that price action, and watching these changes in the ebb and flow of the market. And it's these moments of clarity that allow you to look for failed breaks and reversals and capitalize on trades like that. So the EQ is the setup. 2-minute EQ here with a failed break and absolutely strong response by the bulls was really the first key. And then of course 289.08 breaking that level was very nice. Let's see if the bulls can pull this off. We'll follow this for a little while and see if we can get another trend and maybe another learning opportunity. So we have the 2-minute 12 EMA has failed. And what we're going to do is just clear our charts entirely, start fresh. And if I look at this, I see a little bit so far of a descending wedge, so a tightening range between our lows and our highs. Forgive my drawing. So ultimately that is going to be a bullish continuation pattern. For that to happen, we need to see a 2-minute trend change. And what that will do is also allow these 5-minute bulls to set a higher low. And that's what we need for longer term movement toward this crazy target that I mentioned earlier, 293.49, which would have been a pretty nut bar 5-minute move in retrospect. But just looking for the first resistance on the hourly time frame is a long-term target there. But let's go see what happens with this ascending wedge. I'll go to the 1-minute time frame. Does it fit the narrative for that? Ever so slightly. Let's see if bulls can get over 289.93, and we will continue from there. So far, we're still just in a 2-minute downtrend, and until we get over that current level, that's what it shall remain. So checking back in, 2-minute time frame, we saw a bull break of that descending wedge, so that worked out really nicely. We got overbought on the 2-minute time frame again, so seeing some pullback. Bulls still very much in control. As long as they stay over 290.31 on the 2-minute time frame, things are going to be looking good. But on the 5-minute time frame, we have set a new higher high. Now what we need to see is bulls establish a higher low. We can go all the way down to 289.28 on the 5 to do that. But right now, we're still seeing some strength for the 2-minute bulls in charge currently. Everyone else is still in charge as well. Bulls are looking okay and edging ever closer to that 293.49 target that I'd picked. Also, keep an eye on high day right out of the gate, 291.59. That would be an ideal target as well. Ultimately, what we're looking for is a 2-minute trend change right around one of these key resistance levels, or sometimes even before they get there. We just look for the trend change to try and determine when we're going to see that actual reversal take place. All right, so watching the 5-minute time frame, things are slowing down a little bit right around that 2-minute overbought level. Now, what's interesting is if you go to the 1-minute time frame, things start to look kind of familiar again, don't they? So here's our low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low. You get the idea. Possible 1-minute EQ setting up. So we're going to watch some key levels and see what breaks first. Right now, this is our low right on the EMA 26 time frame for 1 minute. And 290.81 is going to be our last high on the 1 minute. So whatever one breaks first, standard EQ rules apply. So still watching the 1 minute time frame, we got a lower high, which is good, but we have not really established a higher low. In fact, we come down for a double bottom test here on big volume of 290.31. So we got within 1 penny of that. So that is going to be our, well, basically our short signal. If we get through that, and we see a pullback, back test to former support as resistance, it's likely we're going to see that 5-minute time frame slowdown turn into what we hope to see as a attempt for a 5-minute higher low, somewhere probably down here on 289.79. All right, another lower high here. We're looking at 290.69 as our current level, and we've got almost another support test down here with a low of 290.34. So getting a tighter range. So this action doesn't really make a lot of sense, and sometimes that happens in technical analysis. We wait for patterns to tell us what is going on, and it's not a sure thing anytime. But we saw a loss of 290.31, and we didn't see any substantial follow through or volume on that, so that always adds weight to the other side. And it's a similar thing. We were watching that 2-minute equilibrium much earlier this morning, and we had a bear break of that equilibrium and then an automatic rejection. So here's at 288.26. We saw the break, we saw a resurgence, and the bulls answered back in a very big way. So that was sort of what we're waiting to see if that happens here as well. We saw this loss of 290.31. We saw a little bit of a blip, and then bulls have answered back. Now we're seeing increased volatility. We need to see if we're going to get any clear signs of continuation. If we go to our 1 minute time frame, we can see some increasing volume, but bears just answered back in their own way after setting a new high. So this is just volatility, and this is chop. So again, we're going to clear our charts, and we're going to wait for something substantial, something clear to give us an indication of overall direction. First, I've gone into my 2 minute time frame trying to figure out if I missed something. And if we go to the 5, we get the sense of a bull flag, and it doesn't have that nice contained range until you go to look at the 2-minute time frame, and then you can see that chop happening back and forth here. So we are now outside of this 2-minute channel. We've back tested, held support off our EMA 26. So this is when we would look for a long entry pretty much right now. And if we lose EMA 12 on the 2-minute time frame, we would bail out of that. More risk appropriate, I guess, would be if we lose our EMA 26 on the 2-minute time frame. But really, yeah, looking for your long, looking for continuation on this bull flag on the 5-minute time frame. We need to see this hold though. Right now, bears are well inside that convergence range, and we need to see bulls be able to answer back, get back above this trend line, hold it as a new support before finding long-term continuation. And long-term, I'm meaning like 10-15 minutes. I also want to note that while we're looking at the 2-minute here, we're using the 5-minute time frame, so we still have to the close of this candle to get above this level. And it looks like we're bouncing off of our EMA 12 on the 5, which is going to be very close to our EMA 26 on the 2. So we need to see if bears are going to exhaust themselves on this attempt. If they use all of their energy to push the price down, and this is as far as they get, and bulls are able to respond and get back above on the 5-minute time frame, that will add a lot of momentum to the upside because bulls have control. Bears made their attempt, they failed, and now bulls have the opportunity to continue their run. All right, so that 2-minute, although the bears managed to push it well inside that territory, we saw that level hold. We saw the bulls able to respond, maintain that level as support, and now we're seeing that important upside continuation. So it looks scary on the 2-minute time frame when you're watching that happen, but ultimately you managed to hold, you managed to respond, and now you're seeing that strength. So it's all about the bearish attack and the lack of ability to continue to the downside. They exhaust themselves, then bulls are able to respond, and they respond by maintaining an advance into the territory here, and we're heading very close to that high day 291.59. So ultimately, what did we do? We established ourselves a higher low in the 5-minute time frame. We confirmed our trend line as support, and now we're continuing to the upside. RSI is 65.29. We'll go ahead and clear our charts. First thing that jumps out to me is we have a tightening range here. So the bulls need to open this up a little bit more, or we're going to find ourselves in a little bit of a bearish pattern, which is going to be this ascending wedge, which is the opposite of that descending wedge we managed to use so beautifully earlier over here. So all these patterns work together. We'll keep an eye on this one, see if it develops into anything in particular, and I'll follow up again. Hey guys, we're doing a little video on some TCG trades. These are not trades that I did, except for the Netflix ones, but these are simply just trades that were called out, setups that were called out in the Chart Guys community, and I'm following up on them and try to explain how we would read what we see. So this one was presented as a 5-minute equilibrium pretty early in the morning. Where are my notes here? Around 8:40 a.m., so right about here, right before the break, in fact, because we did see a pop almost immediately when I looked at the chart. And I don't think it's an EQ myself, but we did see an oversold bounce. Our RSI just got sub 30 right around this time, and we're starting to see a little bit of strength. And really, I guess the break of 232.32 was a signal. If we go to our 1-minute time frame, we'll see how forgiving this chart is going to be as we switch to those levels. There's our low, our 232.32. We get a higher low on the 1-minute time frame, break, back test, and then a quick pop. So not a giant money maker by any means, but if you're looking for an oversold bounce, you want to watch these sub time frames for a little bit of assistance from that trend. What is the price doing, and is the trend going in your favor? Even if it's a 1-minute time frame, you can use that information for some quick moves. And it was a $2 move on a $200 stock. Not sure how liquid options are on this, but you know, minor move, but it's all about how you recognize these charts. We did have another opportunity on ULTA over here. I didn't catch this one, but it was a double top right here, 233.10. And how we would have played that, we would have looked for resistance. Of course, we're always looking to see how prices interact with resistance levels. And we had a nice trend. We saw our low, 231.77. We came up and established a high. Great. Doesn't matter until we get a higher low. So as soon as we start to see that pullback, we establish that higher low. We say, okay, we've got a 5-minute trend change. We can see that we're setting higher lows. Do we get a higher high or not? And in this case, we get a double top rejection from 233.10. Anytime you get a double top rejection, like from the exact same level, that tells you that there's a big, ugly weight sitting up there, and someone is not happy about what's happening. So they want that weight to go down, and you can see that double top. So let's go look at the 1 minute time frame and see if we could have recognized that in play, what we would have looked for. Well, here's that double top, 233.10. We get that rejection. We get a nice steady 1 minute downtrend. We don't see support at 232.07. In fact, we break it, and then we would say, look, we had a double top. We have no support. Let's wait to our next bounce and see if we can't catch some sort of a short opportunity on that guy. And then there's your loss, your level, and pretty much that the sentiment just carries through. So this is not an easy trade other than recognizing where that double top was. It's really just hoping that that trend stays in place, and that momentum from that big ominous cloud of ugliness is going to be enough to carry you to the downside. It is nice to have this defined stop loss level though, so you could have looked for that double top. As soon as you started pulling back, hit your short entry, cover on the break of 233.10 to the upside, and you got yourself a nice potential trade. So here's another trade. This one is actually pointed out by Dan himself, and it was an early signal. Essentially, the time I've got is 8:45. He said, I'm watching for a 5 minute trend change on oil for short opportunity. So we'll go mark that out, where that come from. 5:45 is right about here. All right. So what we're looking for trend change is really, when do we stop setting higher lows? And we can keep adding a marker for our higher lows every time the bulls make an advance and bears respond. So as soon as we see the price level cross below one of these levels, we consider that 5 minute trend change to be broken. And that doesn't happen until way over here at 11:05. We see our loss of our level, we lose 56.30, and then we see a big drop all the way down to a low of 55.95. So this is kind of a bit of a messy chart. Let's go look at the 1 minute time frame, see if we could have had any more information there. We'll zoom in on it. And here we are. There's our drop. We see the good bear volume. We see an initial support test. Then it breaks, indecision candlestick, bears come out to play, and we just drop. And ultimately, I assume that this would just be an RSI oversold condition bounce. On the 1 minute time frame, it absolutely is. Let's see if we got there on the 2. We did. And on the 5 minute time frame, almost. But definitely a 2 minute oversold bounce. Really, you just be watching that short. And the moment you start to see any strength or anything that suggests that you're going to have some upside movement, you start to cover or scale out. So not a sexy trade per se, but it's really a lot of a technical analysis. It's just watching these levels, looking for your trend changes and not entering just because we're overbought on multiple time frames for US oil. Actually, I'm not even sure if we are, but yeah, you can see that on hourly time frame, RSI is cooking. So we're expecting a pullback, right? You don't want to just enter just for the sake of the that our RSI is really, really overbought and we've had multiple green candlesticks. You need to wait until that trend is going to tell you that it's changing, and you just stock it and you wait for it and then you capitalize on it. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So this dog is just playing in the sprinkler, chasing it around, just being happy. You see the water coming off again? Yeah. Oh.
That's a good way to spend the afternoon.
That's a good dog. Always going back for more. I believe that's called living your best life. Just soaked. Look at that guy.